On a construction site, all branch circuits must be ground fault circuit interrupter protected. This requirement applies regardless of whether the circuits serve handheld tools or other equipment. The purpose of ground fault circuit interrupter protection is to protect personnel from electrical shock hazards. A ground fault circuit interrupter is a fast-acting circuit breaker that senses small imbalances in the circuit current. These imbalances can occur when current leaks to ground, such as when someone comes into contact with a live wire. When a ground fault is detected, the ground fault circuit interrupter quickly trips the circuit, cutting off the power and preventing a potentially fatal electrical shock. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides detailed requirements for ground fault circuit interrupter protection in various locations. Section 590.6. It 1 states for 125 volts, 15, 20, and 30 amps receptacles that are not part of the permanent wiring of the building or structure that are in use by personnel, temporary wiring needs ground fault circuit interrupter protection. The reason all branch circuits need this protection on a construction site is due to the increased risk of electrical hazards. Construction sites are often wet, damp, and have conductive materials present, which increases the likelihood of ground faults. Construction workers are also frequently using power tools and equipment that can be damaged or have insulation failures, further increasing the risk of electrical shock. The NEC mandates the use of ground fault circuit interrupters in these high-risk environments to provide an additional layer of safety and reduce the risk of electrical injuries. There are several methods to provide ground fault circuit interrupter protection on a construction site. One common method is to use ground fault circuit interrupter receptacles. These receptacles have built-in ground fault circuit interrupter protection and can be installed in place of standard receptacles. Another method is to use ground fault circuit interrupter circuit breakers. These circuit breakers provide ground fault circuit interrupter protection for the entire branch circuit. Portable ground fault circuit interrupters are also available. These devices can be plugged into standard receptacles and provide ground fault circuit interrupter protection for any equipment plugged into the portable ground fault circuit interrupter. It is important to regularly test ground fault circuit interrupters to ensure they are functioning properly. Ground fault circuit interrupters should be tested monthly by pressing the test button on the device. If the ground fault circuit interrupter does not trip when the test button is pressed, it should be replaced immediately. In addition to ground fault circuit interrupter protection, there are other safety precautions that should be taken on construction sites to prevent electrical shock hazards. These include inspecting electrical cords and equipment for damage before use, using double insulated tools and equipment, avoiding the use of extension cords whenever possible, keeping electrical equipment away from water, and wearing appropriate personal protective equipment, such as rubber gloves and safety glasses. Furthermore, it is crucial to follow lockout-tagout procedures when working on electrical equipment. Lockout-tagout involves disconnecting the power supply and placing a lock and tag on the disconnect switch to prevent accidental energization of the circuit. This procedure ensures that the equipment remains de-energized while work is being performed, protecting workers from electrical hazards. Moreover, proper grounding is essential for electrical safety on construction sites. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, allowing the circuit breaker or fuse to trip and to energize the circuit. All electrical equipment and metal enclosures should be properly grounded to minimize the risk of electrical shock. Regular inspections of grounding systems should be conducted to ensure their integrity and effectiveness. Education and training are also vital components of electrical safety on construction sites. Workers should be trained on the hazards of electricity, proper use of electrical equipment, and safe work practices. They should also be familiar with ground fault circuit interrupter protection and lockout-tagout procedures. Regular safety meetings and training sessions can help reinforce these concepts and promote a culture of safety on the job site. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, also has regulations regarding electrical safety on construction sites. These regulations cover a wide range of topics, including ground fault circuit interrupter protection, wiring methods, and safe work practices. Employers are responsible for ensuring that their employees comply with OSHA regulations to protect them from electrical hazards. Failure to comply with OSHA regulations can result in fines and other penalties. In summary, ground fault circuit interrupter protection is essential for electrical safety on construction sites. All branch circuits should be ground fault circuit interrupter protected, regardless of whether they serve handheld tools or other equipment. In addition to ground fault circuit interrupter protection, other safety precautions should be taken to prevent electrical shock hazards, such as inspecting electrical equipment, using double insulated tools, and following lockout-tagout procedures. By following these safety guidelines, construction workers can significantly reduce the risk of electrical injuries and create a safer work environment. Remember to always consult the latest edition of the National Electrical Code, ONIC, and OSHA regulations for the most up-to-date requirements for electrical safety on construction sites. Additionally, it is important to consult with a qualified electrician to ensure that all electrical work is performed in accordance with applicable codes and standards. Electrical safety is a shared responsibility, and everyone on the construction site should be aware of the hazards and take steps to protect themselves and others. By working together, we can create a safer and more productive work environment for everyone. The use of ground fault circuit interrupters is not limited to just construction sites. Ground fault circuit interrupters are also required in other locations where there is a high risk of electrical shock, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor areas. The NEC specifies the specific locations where ground fault circuit interrupter protection is required. It is important to follow these requirements to ensure the safety of occupants. Ground fault circuit interrupters are an important safety device that can save lives. By understanding how ground fault circuit interrupters work and where they are required, you can help protect yourself and others from electrical shock hazards. Always remember to test ground fault circuit interrupters monthly and replace them immediately if they are not functioning properly. Electrical safety should always be a top priority, and ground fault circuit interrupters are an essential part of a comprehensive electrical safety program. Furthermore, it is important to note that ground fault circuit interrupters are not a substitute for proper wiring and grounding practices. Ground fault circuit interrupters are designed to protect against ground faults, but they will not protect against other types of electrical hazards, such as short circuits or overloads. It is essential to ensure that all electrical wiring and equipment is properly installed and maintained to prevent these types of hazards. Regular electrical inspections can help identify potential problems and ensure that the electrical system is functioning safely. In addition to ground fault circuit interrupters, arc fault circuit interrupters, or FCIs, are another type of circuit breaker that can help protect against electrical fires. Arc fault circuit interrupters are designed to detect arc faults, which are dangerous electrical arcs that can occur when wires are damaged or connections are loose. Arc fault circuit interrupters trip the circuit when an arc fault is detected, preventing the arc from igniting nearby materials and causing a fire. The NEC requires arc fault circuit interrupter protection in many areas of the home, such as bedrooms and living rooms. By using both ground fault circuit interrupters and arc fault circuit interrupters, you can provide comprehensive electrical safety for your home or business. Electrical safety is an ongoing process, and it is important to stay informed about the latest codes and standards. By taking the time to educate yourself and others about electrical safety, you can help prevent electrical accidents and save lives. Always remember to consult with a qualified electrician for any electrical work and to follow all applicable codes and standards. Electrical safety is everyone's responsibility, and by working together, we can create a safer environment for all. Ground fault circuit interrupters work by monitoring the current flowing through a circuit. In a normal circuit, the current flowing through the hot wire should be equal to the current flowing through the neutral wire. If there is a ground fault, some of the current will leak to ground, creating an imbalance between the hot and neutral wires. The ground fault circuit interrupter detects this imbalance and quickly trips the circuit, cutting off the power. Ground fault circuit interrupters are very sensitive and can detect ground faults as small as 5 milliamps. This is much less than the amount of current that it takes to cause a serious electrical shock. Ground fault circuit interrupters are designed to trip the circuit within milliseconds of detecting a ground fault, which is fast enough to prevent serious injury. There are two types of ground fault circuit interrupters: receptacle type ground fault circuit interrupters and circuit breaker type ground fault circuit interrupters. Receptacle type ground fault circuit interrupters are installed in place of standard receptacles and provide ground fault circuit interrupter protection for anything plugged into the receptacle. Circuit breaker type ground fault circuit interrupters are installed in the electrical panel and provide ground fault circuit interrupter protection for the entire branch circuit. Both types of ground fault circuit interrupters are effective at preventing electrical shock. When selecting a ground fault circuit interrupter, it is important to choose one that is rated for the voltage and amperage of the circuit. Ground fault circuit interrupters are typically rated for 120 volts or 240 volts and 15 amps, 20 amps, or 30 amps. It is also important to choose a ground fault circuit interrupter that is listed by a recognized testing laboratory such as Underwriters Laboratories or UL. This ensures that the ground fault circuit interrupter has been tested and meets safety standards. Installing a ground fault circuit interrupter is a relatively simple task, but it is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it is best to hire a qualified electrician to install the ground fault circuit interrupter for you. Once the ground fault circuit interrupter is installed, it is important to test it regularly to ensure that it is functioning properly. To test a ground fault circuit interrupter, simply press the test button on the device. The ground fault circuit interrupter should trip immediately, cutting off the power to the circuit. If the ground fault circuit interrupter does not trip when the test button is pressed, it should be replaced immediately. Ground fault circuit interrupters are an essential safety device that can help protect you and your family from electrical shock hazards. By understanding how ground fault circuit interrupters work and where they are required, you can help ensure the safety of your home or business. Always remember to test ground fault circuit interrupters monthly and replace them immediately if they are not functioning properly. Electrical safety should always be a top priority, and ground fault circuit interrupters are an essential part of a comprehensive electrical safety program. Firstly, regularly inspect all electrical cords and equipment for damage such as frayed wires or cracked insulation. Secondly, use ground fault circuit interrupters in wet or damp locations such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor areas. Thirdly, avoid overloading electrical circuits by plugging too many devices into one outlet. Fourthly, use extension cords sparingly and only when necessary. Fifthly, keep electrical equipment away from water. Sixthly, never touch electrical equipment with wet hands. Seventhly, unplug electrical devices when they are not in use. Eighthly, have a qualified electrician inspect your electrical system regularly. Ninthly, install smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors in your home. Tenthly, have a fire extinguisher readily available in case of an electrical fire.